You think women want kindness? Think again. Psychologists just revealed a brutal truth. Women are 3 times more likely to stay with men who disrespect them than men who treat them like queens. And the reason? It's not love, it's addiction. This isn't about bad boys or poor choices. This is about brain chemistry, hijacking logic. And it's happening to your sister, your best friend, maybe even you. Why do smart, independent women chase men who destroy them? Why does toxic feel like passion? Stick around. What you're about to hear will rewrite everything you think you know about love. We've all seen it. The woman who's doing everything right in life, successful, confident, independent. But when it comes to men, she falls for the worst possible one. The guy who's emotionally unavailable. The guy who disappears for days. The guy who cheats and lies. And somehow she stays. You've probably asked yourself, why? Why would someone who has so much going for her settle for someone who treats her like trash? Here's the harsh truth. It's not about him. It's about her brain chemistry. And once you understand this, you'll never see relationships the same way again. Let's cut through the BS. We've all seen it. The woman who's obsessed with the guy who ghosts her, the girlfriend who excuses his lies, the wife who stays after he humiliates her. Most people call this low self-esteem. They're wrong. Neuroscientists at Yale found that toxic relationships trigger the same dopamine spikes as cocaine. Let me say that again. Pain can be as addictive as drugs. So here's the truth. Women don't fall for men who hurt them. They fall for the chemical chaos those men create. And once you're hooked, logic doesn't stand a chance. But there's more to it than just brain chemistry. This isn't just about addiction. It's about how we're wired. Human beings are drawn to patterns. And if you grew up in a household where love was inconsistent, where attention was earned, not given, then your brain will confuse chaos for love. Think about it. If you've spent your entire life chasing the approval of someone who keeps pulling away, why would you expect your love life to be any different? And that's why this is so dangerous. Because when you finally meet a man who's stable, kind, and consistent, your brain tells you this is boring. But when you meet a guy who's hot and cold, one minute he's obsessed with you, the next he's ignoring your texts, your brain lights up like a Christmas tree. And that's where the trap begins. 1. The slot machine effect. Imagine this, you're at a slot machine. Sometimes it pays out, mostly it doesn't, but that one win keeps you glued to the seat. That's intermittent reinforcement, and toxic men are masters at it. One day, he's romantic. The next, he's gone. And that uncertainty? It's not a bug, it's the feature. Every time he pulls away, your brain goes into survival mode. Your stress hormones spike. And when he finally texts back, your brain floods with dopamine. That's your reward. That's the jackpot. And just like gambling, you'll bankrupt your self-respect chasing that high. This is why toxic relationships feel so intense. It's not love. It's your brain in survival mode, craving that next hit of dopamine. And the worst part? He knows it. That's why he gives you just enough to keep you hooked, but not enough to feel secure. Think about it. Why do you think men disappear after an amazing date, only to text you 2 weeks later with a "Hey, miss you" message? It's not accidental. He's conditioning you. When he ghosts you, your brain experiences withdrawal, just like a drug addict going cold turkey. Your cortisol levels rise. Your nervous system goes into overdrive. And the only way to get relief? When he finally texts you back. That's when the dopamine floods your brain and gives you that sweet feeling of relief. It's a biological trap. And it's why women in toxic relationships often say, when it's good, it's amazing. That's the high. That's the dopamine hit after the withdrawal. And the scariest part? Your brain starts needing that roller coaster to feel alive. Normal, stable relationships start to feel boring. Safe love starts to feel like nothing. Now, let's go deeper. Ever wonder why he texts you late at night but never calls during the day? Why he's full of compliments when you're about to leave, but cold when you're around? That's intermittent reinforcement at its finest. The unpredictability is what keeps you hooked. If he was always cold, you'd leave. But because he's sometimes amazing, your brain starts convincing you, if I just try harder, maybe I'll get the reward. That's why women stay stuck. They're not staying for the bad times. They're staying for the potential of the good times. And that's exactly how addiction works. Casinos know this. That's why slot machines are designed to give you small wins, just enough to keep you playing. Toxic men operate the same way. They give you enough breadcrumbs to keep you hungry, but never enough to feel full. And what's worse, when you finally realize this and try to leave, the craving doesn't stop. That's why so many women go back. Not because they don't know better, but because their brain is begging for one more hit. 2. The savior complex. I can fix him. Here's the tragic part. Women don't just want love, they want purpose. When she meets a damaged man, it's not his looks she's drawn to. It's the challenge. If I love him enough, he'll change. But here's the truth. You can't fix someone who likes being broken, and every time he relapses, she works harder. Because now it's not just about love, it's about winning. Think about the psychology here. If you grew up in a household where love had to be earned, where affection was inconsistent, you learned that love equals struggle. So when you meet a stable man who treats you well, it feels uncomfortable. Your brain doesn't know how to process it. But when you meet a man who's broken, emotionally unavailable, and full of problems, that feels familiar. Women with the savior complex don't just want love. They want to feel needed. They want to be the one who finally saves him. That's why toxic men attract so many high-achieving women. Because if you're wired for success, you see fixing a broken man as another project. You tell yourself, if I can get through college, land that dream job, and handle all my other problems, I can definitely fix this guy. But you can't, because he doesn't want to be fixed. And here's where it gets dark. The more he pulls away, the harder you work to fix him. That's why women in toxic relationships often feel emotionally exhausted. Because they're stuck in an endless loop of trying to earn love from someone who's incapable of giving it. And the most heartbreaking part, the harder you try, the worse he treats you. And the worse he treats you, the harder you try. Because now it's not about love, it's about proving yourself. Women in these relationships often say things like, I know he loves me deep down. He's not usually like this. If I just give him more time, he'll change. No, he won't, because his brokenness is what's keeping you attached. And deep down, you know this. But your brain is so hooked on the idea of fixing him that you keep trying, even when it destroys you. 3. Trauma bonding. When pain feels like home. Ever met a woman who dates the same terrible guy over and over? Here's why. Her brain confuses pain with safety. If she grew up with chaos, stable feels boring. Unavailable feels familiar. So when a man yells, ignores her, disappears, her subconscious whispers, finally, someone who feels like family. It's not logical. It's neurological. Her brain has learned to associate stress with connection. So when a guy makes her feel anxious, she mistakes it for chemistry. Women who grew up with emotionally distant or unpredictable parents are more likely to fall into trauma bonds. Their brain learned early on that love is inconsistent. So when a man repeats that pattern, it feels comforting. This is why so many women say, nice guys are boring. It's not that the nice guy lacks value. It's that he doesn't activate the stress response loop that her brain is used to. And without that loop, her brain feels disconnected. And that's why the most dangerous men aren't the obviously abusive ones. They're the ones who mix love and pain. The ones who give you just enough to make you stay, but not enough to make you feel secure. Here's the twist. It's not him she's addicted to. It's her. Every time he pulls away, then love bombs her. Her brain lights up like Times Square. The withdrawal is what makes the high so intense. Scientists call this the cycle of abuse. I call it emotional meth. And quitting? It's harder than heroin. Because at least with drugs, you know you're an addict. With toxic love, you think you're in a fairy tale, when really you're in a chemical trap. That's why women don't leave. Because the pain of staying is outweighed by the terror of withdrawal. And the most dangerous part? He knows exactly how to keep you hooked. That's why he pulls away right when you're about to give up, because the reunion high is the most powerful drug of all. You're not in love with him. You're addicted to the emotional roller coaster, and until you see that, you'll keep confusing trauma for passion. You'll keep mistaking stress for love, and that's the hidden truth no one tells you about love. So, how do you break free? First, admit the truth. You're not in love. You're in withdrawal. Stop romanticizing potential. Stop confusing drama for passion. And ask yourself one question. Do I want a relationship or a rehab assignment? The truth is, love doesn't feel like chaos. Love feels like peace. If you're constantly anxious, overthinking, and chasing, that's not love. That's addiction. Still think toxic love is romantic. Think again. And if you want to understand the hidden psychology behind modern relationships, hit that subscribe button. This is just the beginning.